First of all, thank all of y'all for coming, and welcome to LA for everyone who's traveling in today. My name is Mike Mays. I'm with the local LA chapter, and today we have NK Shrivastava. NK is the CEO of RefineM, a project management consulting and training firm focused on driving measurable business results. NK has honed his expertise in project management, risk management, process improvements, and Agile roles over 25 years of consulting, training, and overseeing projects from smaller initiatives to multi-year, multi-million-dollar, multinational endeavors. NK enjoys sharing his learnings at international, national, and regional conferences and training. So I'd like to introduce NK.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Good morning. So you had a wonderful session in the morning, right? Yeah, it was great, and everybody is very excited and pumped up to, learn as much as they can in next 3 days, right? That's what it is. Can you hear me at the back? Can you see me at the back? Okay, I'm little, so I just want to make sure that you can see me at the back, and I don't want to kind of confine myself to the stage, because I just want to move around and talk to you and make it a conversation rather than a just one-sided presentation. And my goal is that, if from this conference you are investing your 3 days, plus whatever money you spend on the hotels and travel and all that, if you want to just take away one thing, that's what I do in conferences. I take one thing that you can implement and get the benefit. Not just implement, get the benefit. That's the core thing. So every time you participate in a learning event like this, we can get one thing. So pick up you may attend 10, 15, 20 sessions, and you may be making lots of notes too. I know. I used to do it, but then I stopped doing that. I will go to every session and make a note of just one thing, and then after I return back from the conference, I'll say, okay, prioritize. What is the thing that is going to give me the most benefit that I can implement? So I'm not going to talk many things to you. I'm going to talk about a very few things. Because I think if I talk about few things and talk about them well, they stick. And then you can take it and implement them. So let's get going. So I have, this is a disclaimer from PMI, so I have to show this to you, and you may be seeing it everywhere. And the objectives. So there are 3 objectives of this session. One is visualization. Number 1 and 2 are about visualization. Visualizing the process, whatever you do, not only just software development. If you are the manager of HR, recruiting. If you are in a healthcare industry and you take patients in, what is the process of doing it? What is the process of making spaghettis at a restaurant? Okay, whatever you do, visualizing that process, because visualization has lot of power. And then after visualizing the process, visualize the work. There are 2 different things. And find where the bottlenecks are and resolve those bottlenecks. And it's a very interesting thing. Then if you find a bottleneck in the process at this step over here, you resolve it, the bottleneck goes somewhere else. It's like a good little play happens. But that's how you continuously improve. So that's what I'm going to talk about. So little agenda here. We'll talk about those. How do you visualize the process? How do you resolve the bottlenecks? How do you drive those continuous improvement? And how do you demonstrate outcomes? That's very, very important thing. If you cannot demonstrate outcomes, then this was not of much use. Okay, so that's very important. So let's listen from some of you. What is your expectation from this presentation. There are so many presentations going on. You signed up for this, right? And that's not an easy thing to pick when you have so many choices. So what do you expect from this? So what do you expect? Yes.
New innovative ways to drive continuous improvement.
New innovative ways to drive continuous improvement. Thank you. Anybody? Yes.
How to get projects done faster.
How do projects get done? How to get projects done faster? Very good. Yes.
To try get groups together to understand Agile is not just the development.
Very good. Very good. Agile is not just the software development. Excellent. What else? Anybody from the back there? Yes.
How does Agile scale in projects where you have situations like she's talking about with so many different people?
Very good. Very good. Excellent. And yes. How to prepare what? Culture. Wow, that's my favorite. Okay. Yeah, I will talk about that in a little bit. Yeah. What else? Anyone else? Yes.
I'm hopeful to take the Agile methodology and apply it to more of a non-software development.
Take the Agile methodology and apply it to non-software development. That's what she mentioned. Okay, very good. And by the time I was discussing all that, all of you would have read it. What is there on the screen? It's just about my bio data or history, a summary. The key thing I want to point out is, as Mike was reading the summary, my goal is how do you drive results? That's my goal. So I started my company about almost 7 years ago now, December 2011. And I thought, what is going to be the differentiator? There are so many project management agile transformation companies. What is going to be the differentiator? So the two, I said, make it simple. Simplicity. I love simplicity. Make it simple and make it outcome-based. Make it simple and make it outcome-based. So that's what I do when I do my own consulting engagement, even training. I was talking to one of the potential clients for training, and they want us to come. They are looking for a vendor to do a training on change management and user adoption for their ERP system that they are implementing. So I'm asking them, okay, we'll come and do the training. How will you know that training was successful? So I don't know. So we have to tell, okay, these are different ways you can measure the success. Otherwise, you'll spend time, and money is not the main thing. Main thing is that if they are getting 10, 20 people in a room for 2 days, that's a lot of investment for companies. How do you make sure? So that's the part that, and because of that, what I did, we have, all of us have grandmas and in the home, and there are dishes that they make so good, right? And what they have practiced this over and over again and created a recipe to make that dish so good that you cannot get in every family that's there. So similar way, I said, what is the recipe to deliver projects successfully? What is that? And I created what I call my toolkit, essential gear for project managers. Toolkit, and if you go on my website, you can find it. It's just the 8 things that a project manager has to do to make the project successful. Similarly, I'm trying to figure out on the Agile thing, what you have to do to drive outcomes. You can do product development, but there are so many other companies and teams that do not do software development. So for last 2 years, I have been doing enterprise agile coaching for IBM, and I'm doing coaching for a division that do IT infrastructure work. Very little software development. 115,000 people all over the world. That unit is getting transformed. Okay, so enough about me. Let's move on. So let's talk about a few things to just bring everybody on the same page. So what is Agile? So many times this question is asked, what is Agile? And when you start asking this question, people say, oh, iterative development and all those kind of things, delivering results faster and things like that. Sometimes they call it Scrum and Kanban and all those kind of things. But I feel the Agile is a ability or a capability. So I define Agile as the ability for any team or organization to respond to changes. Ability to respond to changes. If you as a team or as a company can respond to changes faster, you are agile. And that is in an uncertain environment. So Agile has been there for several decades, two decades at least. Agile manifesto was written in which year? Anybody knows? 2001, right? 17 years. But Agile is gaining momentum and popularity for last 5, 6, maybe 10 years. Why? Why not in late 90s? Why not in 80s? Why now? What's happening? Changes, yes. More changes are happening, and changes are happening faster, very fast. And if somebody does the strategic planning, they do what is called a spectral analysis. The 6 different kind of changes that you can have. And those changes are happening, they're happening very fast. So the organizations need to respond to those changes. So organizations that respond to those changes are successful. Organizations that are not respond to those changes die. That's why the agility has become very, very important. So it's a capability to respond to change. That's how I define agility. And what it is not new. You know it's there, has been. It is not unplanned. Sometimes Steve starts doing the Scrum and we don't need any planning. Okay, the Agile actually is more planning. You do more planning, but it is just in time. Just in time. It is not rigid. You can change it. It's not a silver bullet. It's not going to fix all your problems. It's not a silver bullet. And it's not a quick fix too. And it is not a quick fix too. Somebody talked about culture. So if I want to see have you seen a iceberg? You have the tip of the iceberg. So the tip of the iceberg is this Scrum, Kanban, and planning, retrospectives, all these practices and principles. Below the water is culture. That's huge. That's huge. And what is a culture? We talk about culture change. What is a culture? Belief system is one. I define culture the way of doing things. That need to change. Very simple example, in Agile world, you have to prioritize, right? Everybody knows about that. And if you talk in a company, talk to a steering committee or somebody, if there are hundreds of projects going and you say, what is the priority? They say, all of them are priority. Most of the time, they may say high, medium, low. These 30 are high, medium, this 20 are medium, and call them. But in Agile, priority is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Very hard thing to do. Very hard thing to do. So it's a cultural change. Now there is a survey, and you can do this survey. Let's say, what is the benefit? What do you think is the biggest benefit of Agile? So if you have your cell phones or computers or something, you can text this to this, and you can take one A, B, C, or D and text that, or you can respond to the URL here. Let's do this. I want to see, what do you think? What do you think is well, somebody said this 100%. Somebody this survey is designed by PMI, and this is very fascinating. This is an online, instant, real-time survey. So we'll see as people fill up this, the bars will start moving. This is good. I'll give you maybe maybe another minute or so. Very interesting, very interesting. Okay, so you keep doing the polling. I think that the faster speed to market or time to market seems like, and the greater adaptability is one thing. And I'm a little surprised to see choice A is very little. Very little. And keep this survey in mind, and what I have seen is the biggest benefit of Agile for the companies. Why company will invest in adopting Agile? It's an investment. There's a learning. They have to spend money. Why companies transform to Agile? It's basically making more money. That's the fundamental thing, and I'll show you here. And I will tell you why that thing is there. And there is a study done by MIT. And if somebody wants to note down the source over there, there is a white paper published by MIT. So this is not what I'm saying. So Agile companies create 37% higher return on equity and make 30% higher profit. And if this is the reason, many of the senior executives, if they don't know this, because that's what they care about. The money is something that they care about, and if we are bringing Agile in the organization and don't talk their language, it is not, they are not going to invest. They're not. So that I see a lot of teams, a lot of project managers, a lot of teams talk about customer satisfaction, talk about speed to market, talk about all those kind of things, but they don't talk about money. That's a language that the people sitting over the top who have control of budget understand. So that's something that you can take this article or this publication, that this is what is the biggest benefit. Of course, those benefits what you listed are also there, but this is the driving benefit. That's why the companies will spend millions and millions of dollars to bring in coaches and consultants and get the Agile, get the companies transformed to Agile. Okay, so very quickly, how many of you have worked in Agile? Okay, very good. And how many of you know Scrum, let's say? Many of you know Scrum. How many of you know XP? Some. Kanban? Some. Yeah, okay, very good. So I will very quickly go over this. I'll not spend a lot of time because a lot of you know about Scrum, these methodologies. So Scrum, we know, is an iterative methodology. You start with product planning, you do release planning, then you come to your sprints, and you run your sprints, and deliver, keep delivering the software and with every sprint, and then based on the priority, right? I don't have to explain this. I don't want to waste your time because is anybody has any question about Scrum? Okay, all right. So let's move to the next part, XP. The key difference between Scrum and XP is based on paired programming. There are people who work in pairs and work on the same story or same requirement at the same time. And it is much more informal, and also the iterations are small, like a week. Normally in Scrum it's 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but in case of XP there are very small iterations. Any question about XP? I don't want to spend time. I want to spend time where this purpose of this presentation is. And then Lean. So these are this is the Lean house, what we call. And there's a lean principles, building what is needed, eliminating anything that doesn't add value, and stopping production if something goes wrong. Those are the kind of things about lean. And some of the principles of lean goes with the value. And that actually matches with whatever agile methodology you use. There's always starts with identifying value. Because your prioritization happens, there are two key factors for prioritization. One is the business value, and second is the effort that will take to deliver that component story. Based on those two, you decide what's the priority. So value is very, very important. And then what you do in lean, you build value stream map. Anybody heard of value stream map? Yeah, some of you heard of value stream map. And then create the flow, establish pull system. Pull system where the work is not assigned or given, but the work is picked based on the availability of the resources, whether it is a material or it is human resource. So based on that, the things are pulled, and then you continuously improve. These are the 5 lean principles, and the whole lean is based on this. And then Kanban. Simple thing about Kanban is you visualize the work. As you see in the Kanban board, this tool, many of you have seen the Kanban board with columns, right? Column representing different steps or stages. Limiting work in progress. How many of you know about that? Limiting work in progress. A few hand comes up. Come up. And limit work in progress, optimize flow. Those are the 3 rules of Kanban. Visualize work, limit work in progress, optimize the flow. And when you limit work in progress, you actually speed up. So it's like you have to slow down to speed up, kind of a thing. So many of you live in big cities where there's a traffic during the evenings in the morning. I yesterday came from airport to my hotel, and it took me 1.5 hours because there was a lot of traffic. And every time you try to get into highway, you have lights, right? So if the light is red, you can't enter the highway. You have to wait for the green light. So what this light is doing? Limiting work in progress. How much cars can go on the highway? And there is some way to measure how much traffic is on the highway. And that is a feedback loop to this light. And this light says, okay, 1 car per 10 seconds, or 1 car per 20 seconds, or 1 car per second. And sometimes when you travel at 2 a.m. in the night, it always is green, right? Because you can enter. There is not much of traffic you can go through. So when you have lot of work in progress, actually it slows you down. And that's a very good real example that you see every day. So that is in your work also. When you have a lot of things going on, it actually you're slowing down. You heard of people working on 4, 5, 6, 10 projects. There's a lot of switching going on, and that actually slows you down. Your productivity efficiency falls. So that is a rule of Kanban, that you limit work in progress and optimize the flow. A tool is Kanban board, and you move items. So that's a very simple 1-page definition of Kanban. So it is a set of principles and practices that this is important. It is a set of principles and practices that are applied to an existing process. So when you are applying Kanban, you don't have to change anything. You are just visualizing it. You're just visualizing it. You're visualizing your work. You're visualizing your process. And the core practices is visualize, limit work in progress, manage flow that we saw, make policies explicit. How the work will move from one stage to other stage. What is the definition of done for each stage? Not at the end. So in Scrum, you have definition of done when the whole story is completed, right? In Kanban, for each step, you have definition of done. how it will move. So it helps quality, because you are implementing your definition of done at each stage, not at the end. Okay, implement feedback loops and experiment what works, where you find bottlenecks, how you resolve bottlenecks. So that's experimentation. So let's talk about, we were talking about software development versus non-software development. So what I have seen from my experience, that Kanban is a better fit for those kind of ongoing things that are not software development. Scrum works very well for software development. We have all seen that. But if you have something ongoing and you try to apply Scrum to that, it may not work. Think about, let's say, if you are doing IT support, you have tickets or requests coming to you, right? Your team, some of you may have experienced that. So how you are going to apply Scrum to that? Like say you would say, oh, will we have 2-week sprint? So we'll plan whatever tickets we are going to, take care this 2 weeks. You finish that planning, but as soon as you come out of planning, the priority may change. And I was talking to somebody, during the break. They said, okay, make the sprint shorter, 1 week. But think about the priority change almost every day, or maybe more than once a day. So then you have to make a sprint for a day. That becomes very, very much big overhead. So in those kind of situations where the inflow is out of your control. So in case of Scrum, there is a product owner who is managing that flow. The requirements are coming, but then he's saying this is the priority for next 2 weeks. The team is going to work on these items for next 2 weeks. And no priority change happens during the sprint. So when you finish the sprint, then you can look at the backlog. If something has changed, what has become highest priority, then work on that. But for those 2 weeks, it is locked. Okay. But if you are in a situation that you cannot lock it for that much time, then you have a problem with the Scrum. And that's where the Kanban is very useful. It's continuous flow of things. So it could be in any situation, any business process or IT process where there is a flow. I call it flow-based systems, where there's a flow. And actually Kanban came from manufacturing, all you know about that. And it is a flow. So anything that involves flow and you do not control the input, or the priorities change very rapidly. In those situations, Kanban is a good method to think about. So that is what I want to bring it here, to see the distinction between the two. So I have done a lot of Scrum implementations, and I have learned a lot of Kanban implementations, and they just have their places, in the situations where they work best. So that is what I wanted to bring it here. Let's see, unpredictable inflow of work. As I was talking about, unpredictable inflow of work, priorities change frequently, focus on quick delivery and reducing customer lead time. So customer lead time equates to quicker time to market. Now you're talking about the product kind of reference. So if your product development was taking 1 year, by applying a Scrum, you can deliver it faster. You can deliver it faster. You can start delivering maybe after a month. And then after that, every 2 weeks or 3 weeks or so. Okay, so your user is getting it faster. You may still take the whole year or maybe less or more to do everything with the product. Sometimes people say, it still took us a year to do all of this. Yeah, it might take even longer. But the part is that you have started delivering value sooner. You may finish your first, what you call as MVP, minimum viable product. I've heard of that, right? That can go very fast. And then you can have multiple end-to-end features or functionality that you can keep delivering as you go. At the end of it, you may not even deliver all the features or functions that were in the scope, but you delivered something that was much more valuable and meaningful and faster. That is what happens. And case of Kanban, your items are very, very small that you deliver. So how much time does it take to deliver an item or fulfill a request end to end? That's the cycle time or lead time. So when you implement Kanban, your focus is reducing that cycle time, how quickly you serve your customer. Okay. So can anybody think of the Scrum work with this kind of environment? So in this kind of environment, Scrum will not work very well. Sometimes there are some of the people who may say Scrum will work everywhere. But I don't want to be at one or the other extreme. I want to say, what is your fit for purpose? Think about, there are so many tools and methods available to what is a good fit for purpose. So we are going to talk about certain lean agile tool for non-product development environment. Non-product development environment, okay? So we're going to talk about 6 different tools. Those tools are listed here, okay? So value stream mapping, Kanban board, daily Kanban meeting, weekly retrospectives, lean agile matrix, and Kaizen plans, okay? So we're going to talk about these 6 tools or techniques, okay, to improve your delivery and make it faster, okay? So let's talk about value stream map. That is the very first thing. Value, some of you raised your hand and you talk about value stream map. So value stream map is very simple. You take all the steps that you take from start to finish and put them here, like simple value stream map. Customer opens a defect report, support team triages it, develop triages, adds to the queue, development fixes it, fix deploy to production. Very simple support work, right? So very simple work, but then it doesn't end here. What you do is after this, you do some time analysis also on this. So time analysis involved how much time does this step take, how much time does this step take, how much time each step takes. Not only that, what is the wait time in between? What is the wait time in between? So there's some time analysis. And you may add the done criteria, what is required to be done, need to be in place so that this request moves from here to here. You can define that's called as exit criteria or the criteria or the done criteria. So you can, once you have done this part here, that is a completion of the value stream map, but then what do you do with this? So what you do is take all these numbers and calculate a matrix. Because I told you I am talking about the numbers and the outcomes. Unless you show the outcomes, it's not meaningful. Okay, so you take those numbers. So the very first thing is total value time, which is the total activity time. If you added up all the time for those activities, that's what it adds up to. And this is the wait time in between. If you add up all that time, and they're all now in minutes, there were days and weeks. And you take this and calculate total cycle time, this is 55 minutes. Total cycle time says it will take 55 minutes to finish a defect end to end. That is called as customer lead time, how much time the customer will get this thing fixed. And then from these you calculate what is called as process efficiency, which is value time divided by cycle time. So in this case, in this example, it's 21.4%. What does this tell you? That is right. What is not efficient in that? There's more wait time. Very good. So about 80% time you're waiting. That's what it tells. So if I have to look at it and say what I have to change to make this process more efficient, I have to look at the waiting time. I don't have to even go to the people and push them to do faster work, because that's not going to solve my problem. It may increase, the process efficiency may increase, but if I look at the process, so if I go back and show you here 1 week here, right, this is the biggest delay. Now, if I cut down this 1 week to 1 day or 2 days, that will show significant improvement in efficiency. So your efficiency goes up and your customer time goes down. This goes down because this will go down. Your wait time is going down. So this will go down, and then ultimately efficiency will go up because this is in the denominator over here. So what it allows you to do, it is possible that when you do the value stream mapping for your process for the first time, you may not have these numbers for the wait time and activity time, right? You may not have these numbers. You may not have a database. You may not have it. That's okay. You take a guess. And then start measuring, and that's the next step. How do you measure that? So this is the first thing that needs to happen for your process. Value stream mapping. And these are the 3 or 4 measurements that you need to be watching. So any questions here about value stream mapping? Okay, this is the second part that many teams and organizations may not do. And that's how they cannot show the outcomes. Cannot show the things are, yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
What about if you have a wide gap in time? Like your process, it seems like you clearly have defined time. What if it's a range, like 1 day to 5 days? Would you just do the math for the whole time frame to have a total process efficiency between whatever percentage to whatever percentage?
Very good. The question is that what if you have a range of time, waiting time? That's the question. What do you do if you have a range? I will say in that case, you see what is the most of the time what occurs. So 80% of time, 80% of time it is 3 days or 5 days. So if you can fix 80% of your problem, you have fixed a lot of it. So that's another part is that when you do value stream mapping, you don't map exceptions, because then you get trapped into those kind of details and it eats up your time and energy. So you have a map where it is 70%, 80% followed. So you don't have that. Very good question, and I was going to tell what you asked, so that was in line. Okay. So goal of the value stream map, you optimize existing process, deliver with high quality, improve lead time, predictability. Lead time is how much time will it take to finish end to end. So that will help improve employee satisfaction, because when you see your work being done and it is done up to the satisfaction of the customer, there is an employee satisfaction that goes up. Provide slack and simplify prioritization, because it helps when you see the value stream map where you have to put focus. Okay. And provide transparency. So there are some of the main goals of value stream mapping. And then Kanban board. Now, what happens, you take the value stream map. Value stream map is visualization of your process. You are visualizing what are the steps of your process. Kanban board visualizes the work, actual work that is going on. So you take that process and convert that into Kanban board. Each of the step of the value stream map goes into activity 1, activity 2, activity 3. And before that, you have backlog. You all know what's the backlog. The items are there coming. And then here is a queue called as replenishment queue or ready queue. So the things may be sitting in backlog, but then there is a criteria here mentioned. All the items that fulfill this criteria, they move to ready. And once they move to ready, this is the time, what we call as commitment time or commitment line. And then from here to until it gets done, this is the time the team takes to deliver. It's called as operational lead time. How much time does the team take to complete it? But it may be sitting here in the backlog for a long period of time, and they might have completed, but it would not have been delivered to the customer. Okay? So that's the extra time from here to here, which is customer lead time. So there are different areas to focus on. So the team may not have much control on this and this because there is outside of their domain or their control. So they focus on operational lead time. Somebody else, the interface with the customer, with the stakeholder, they focus on these times. Yes? Yes.
You know, could you have like an organizational piece where you actually have to teach people the process, system, and all that?
Yeah, you can apply that, but you have to figure out what is your work item. So if you have only work item, one work item, your Kanban board, that may not work. You have to find out small items, smaller items. If you have one big piece sitting in your Kanban board, it will stay sitting in one column for a long period of time. Because many times I see the teams that say, oh, we have a Kanban board. Okay, what are your columns? Backlog, doing, done. Okay, that's good. That's good to begin with. But doing probably have 5 or 6 steps. So unless you get down to that level, you will not be able to see where is the bottleneck. Because everything will be just in work in progress, which is in kind of doing kind of a thing. Everything is sitting over there. So unless you break it down and break the items also to smaller chunks, that's what agility is about. Like you break bigger pieces into smaller pieces. That's what you do. You start from a feature epic story, right? That's how it goes in Scrum. So similar thing here. Because in agility, you have to bring you have to break bigger things into smaller things, prioritize, work on those with a focused attention for some period of time so they get done. Right? Same principle here. So agile principles are not different. Because agility is about capability to respond to changes. It's not about Scrum, it's not about Kanban, it's not about XP. It's about capability to deliver or respond to changes. Right? So if you have a bigger item, it will stay in that one column for a long period of time. And it will be like people coming for a daily meeting and say, I'm working on it, I'm working on it, I'm working on it every day. You don't see any progress, right? You in Scrum teams also, if you have bigger stories, then how your burn down will look like. It will look like this and zook, right? It will not look like this because you have bigger items, or maybe a step long, and then all of a sudden everything happens at the end. That's how you're familiar with burn down, right? A lot of you are Scrum, but the key part is that you have to break it down into smaller chunks. That's a skill and a cultural change. That's another skill and a cultural change. How do you break the things into smaller chunks so they are still meaningful? Okay, so that's Kanban board. This is another example. So where is the bottleneck here? This one here? How much time did you take to figure it out? Less than a minute. Why? Because it is visual. You can see it right there. You don't have to run any reports. You don't have to do anything. It's just right there. That's the power of visualization. I show you, and within less than a minute, you say, oh, there is a problem over here. Okay? So you now need to go and figure it out what you're going to do about it. Okay? And the other method, daily Kanban meeting. Now, you know about daily stand-ups, right? You are very familiar with Scrum. The daily Kanban meeting is a little different. So it is not asking about what you did yesterday, what I did, what you're going to do today, what are showstoppers. The reason is all 3 questions are answered by Kanban board itself. You know, all 3 questions are answered. So your questions are, and they are not the same questions. And so where the things are stuck in the flow, that is what you need to identify, where the things are stuck in the flow. How can you optimize? What can you improve today? Yes?
What are you doing with virtual teams? How do you handle that virtual teams?
Virtual teams. Okay, how do you handle that with virtual teams? I will put that in the parking lot here. Virtual team is a much bigger conversation. Okay, so let's see if we have time later. How do you do this virtual virtual teams. Let's talk about that in the Q&A session. That's a very good question, and that requires a little more time. So I'll come back to that. Thank you for that. Okay, so the daily Kanban, then retrospective is very same. So in Kanban world, there is no sprints set up, right? Kanban is a continuous flow, but you can set up a cadence. You can do weekly retrospectives in Kanban world. You say what has gone well in the last week, what did not go well, what are the things. Exactly same, there is no difference. Exactly same like you do in Scrum at the end of each sprint. So you can set up a cadence here. It could be 1 week, it could be 2 weeks, it could be a month, whatever works for you. It's very flexible. It's very, very flexible. And then talk about the matrix. What are the things that you're going to measure? In Scrum, what are the things that you measure? What are the things you measure in Scrum to see if team is getting better? Points, story points, called as velocity, right? How many story points you deliver in a sprint, and that gets better. Yeah. Anything else that you measure? Burn down. Burn down is basically for the sprint, at how the team is working on a day-to-day basis, right? That's the burn down. Yes. Anything else anybody measures on Scrum to say that team is getting better? Team happiness level. How do you measure that? Subjective. Okay. Yeah, sometimes, actually it can be subjective, but it could be visual too. Has anybody heard of mood marbles? So this very simple thing you can do in your team. You have these marbles, have 3 colored marbles, red, green, and yellow. Okay? And put them in a tray on one side, and then you have a jar here. So ask people to, in the morning when they come, what's their mood? If their mood is really great, they pick up green and put the green marble. If they are very angry or something like they're frustrated, red marble. If they're okay, then yellow. And they every time they pass the tray, they just put the marble. So you can see how the mood looks like for the whole team, and it's very, very visual thing. I like visualization. That's a very visual thing, but that tells about how the team happiness is. So that's a very visual thing. In Kanban world, and Agile and Kanban world, Lean and Agile world, you have several of these metrics. I will put, if I have to pick a couple out of this, I will say pick customer lead time, which is most important. Throughput. Throughput is how many items the team is completing in a given period. So in a week or in a month, we pick up a period. How many items? And if the items are small sized, it doesn't matter whether they pick larger item or smaller, because they are almost same size. Okay. So you pick up, this should increase, this should decrease. And then after that, you can pick up, if you want to pick up quality or you want to pick up customer satisfaction. And that's another thing. How do you measure customer satisfaction? Many times teams and companies do surveys, and those surveys are done probably once a year, sometime once in 6 months. It's not relevant. It's not relevant. Nowadays, many teams and many organizations have started doing NPS, Net Promoter Score, 1 question survey. I use T-Mobile as a carrier, and I can tell you that as soon as I finish a call with them, whatever reason I called, I get a text message. It says, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you rate our service? And that's NPS actually. So that can be applied. Every sprint, every cadence, every week, and you can see how customers are satisfied with what they saw last week. So very simple. I think if you can do all of this, great, because this will demonstrate that the team is getting better. If you do not have a way to show that the team is getting better, then there will not be any buy-in from anybody. So that's very, very important to have a metric system, a measurement system in place. You'll be able to collect all that information and and share that information in whatever way you share information in your organization. Any other metrics that you can think about?
First time quality.
First time quality. Okay. First time quality. So the things that are implemented right first time, right? Yeah, very good. And I have another one that I do for the quality. I measure the repair to build ratio. That's what I call. So I don't get into number of defects and all those kind of things, because one defect could be very different than the other one. But you can see if the team is spending 10% of their time in rework, something that they delivered and found defect and they're fixing. So if they're spending 10% of their time, then their repair to build ratio is 10%. Very simple. So, and it can be applied across various teams, irrespective of the kind of work that they do. If they are creating a rework, that's a problem. Okay, very good. Let's keep moving. So Kaizen plan. Now you got your value stream map, you got your Kanban board, you have your matrix. Now think about how you're going to improve. Like the things were stuck in the externally blocked. What you're going to do about it, right? The first thing is to identify where the problem is. You did that. Now what you're going to do about it. So you create what is called as Kaizen plan. Now what is a Kaizen plan? Kaizen is a small improvement that can happen. So pick up a small improvement that you're going to do to fix that problem. Small improvement. Okay, and develop a plan around that, how you're going to do that. That becomes a Kaizen plan. Okay, so and that one of the things that that I do is make sure that it can be done within 4 to 6 weeks. It doesn't take 3 months or years to do that, because then you lose track of it. Okay, so make sure it is very small and you can demonstrate improvement through your matrix, what you have established. So your cycle time may improve, or lead time may improve, throughput may go up, your customer satisfaction may go up, quality may improve, whatever that is. Whatever metrics you have decided that you are going to monitor. So when you implement this, that should change. And if you don't measure, then you will not see it. Measure it every week if you can. Okay. So Kaizen plan. So that's the Kaizen plan, and you can see if it is small, then you can realize the benefit sooner. I was approached by one of the distribution companies. They do sports goods, and so they had a issue in their manufacturing, and they hired a big consulting company that came and said they provided recommendations, very good recommendations, but each one of them will take 6 months' time. So then, the CEO of the company said, okay, is there a better way to do it faster? I said, yes, there is a better way to. Agile is a way to do it faster. Whatever you're trying to do in 6 months, break it into smaller Kaizen plans. Break it into smaller things. Prioritize them. Implement them. Have a measurement system that tells you're getting better. So we're going to do a 2-day workshop to take them through this whole process of to value stream map and Kanban and all those kind of things, so that they learn how to do this part. Okay, I have a full 2-day version of this, but I'm teaching you in 1.5 hours. Full. And if some of you attend the seminar world, then I'll be doing this in Chicago in November, and then in Charlotte and Atlanta next year. So the 2-day version of this, what I'm telling you, trying to squeeze this in about 1 hour, 15 minutes or so. Okay. And the Kaizen plan should address this. What is that you want to achieve? What is the improvement? Okay. What do you want to achieve? Why do you want to do that? That should be very clear. Why do you want to do this? How do you want to achieve? What are the tasks or steps that you're going to do? How you will know that you are making progress? The matrix. It could be one or two of those, or it may have a little separate other matrix for just this purpose, but that will reflect on those two. Okay. And what are your goals for 2, 4, 8 weeks? So this is my goal for next 2 weeks, then next 2 weeks, then next 2 weeks, next 2 weeks. So it's very structured. Just we are not waiting for 3, 4, 5 months to see the benefit, see this is improving. And then, of course, who is accountable? Who is going to drive it? So there could be multiple Kaizen plans that you can create for your process, and each one need to have somebody accountable for this. So that was the last tool or technique that. So I told you 6 of those. Okay, right? I told you value stream mapping, Kanban board, right, and matrix, and Kaizen plans, and maybe I don't remember all of them, but I told you 6 of those. We'll see those 6 of those. Now putting it together. So we have learned those. Now how do we put them together? Okay, how do we put them together to get those kind of benefits? And I have seen this happen if this is followed in the right manner. Okay, the key part is doing it, experimenting it, and measuring it. If you don't measure it, then this is not going to happen. That's the most significant part and most important part. So, okay, these are the 6 steps to implement this. So first of all, value stream maps, develop your value stream, develop Kanban board, identify metrics, develop Kaizen plans, and operationalize. So 1 to 5 may happen in a kind of a 2-day workshop. You sit down together with the team and do this. But then how do you operationalize it? That's another part. So we'll talk about each one of them very quickly. So identifying value streams. So you may see, okay, what are the business process or IT process that you want to undertake for improvement? You may have 4 or 5. You may prioritize that, right? So I'm going to do this one first. So that step is the first step. Identify your value stream. So you go back in a team, maybe after you go back from this course or this conference, sit with your team and identify that value stream. And after that, you develop value stream map. And value stream map, remember, it is identify activities, put them in a flow, identify who does each activity. And if you want to identify some pain point and challenges with each activity, it may be a great idea. Because later on it will tell you these are the places where you want to improve, because there's a pain in those areas. Estimate the analysis, time analysis, calculate process efficiency. So these are the things that you do to complete your value stream map for your selected value stream. So select your value stream, do the value stream map, and then develop Kanban board. Develop Kanban board, and so you take activities in columns in a state, write down policies, how the things will move. If you have to classify your class of service, I did not talk about that. If your work is more than one type, but it follows the same set of activities, you can actually have swim lanes going within your Kanban. That will complicate it. But in the beginning, you start with just one type of work. That will be good enough. Identify, establish WIP limits. How many items can be open at a time in a column? That's a work in progress limit, as I was giving an example for a traffic light to enter a highway. Okay. And then you may start populating your board with 4 to 10 items so that you see how these items are going to work. And you have the items to populate. So this exercise is a second exercise after you have created your value stream map. First you identified, then you created your value stream map. Now you created your Kanban board. And this is the best practices. Before you create Kanban board, create a value stream map. Otherwise, you will miss certain things, and you may not have enough details in your Kanban board. Identify a couple of metrics, right? Whatever makes sense to you. Identify those, and make sure that there is a process to collect and report selected metrics. Make sure it is there. And then develop Kaizen plans. For 1, 2, 3, 4 Kaizen plans. For each accomplishment, create the plan. And when you do this part is important. The KPs are customer focused, not team focused. They're customer focused. And then operationalize. Now you have done all of this, how you are going to work through this. So this is also very simplified. I believe in simplification. So 2 things you do on a daily basis and 2 things you do on a weekly basis. Okay? Daily basis, update Kanban board at least once a day. Whatever is happening, every team member need to update. Like in a Scrum, if people don't update the status of their story on a daily basis, you don't know, your burn down will not give you any information. Similar thing is there, make sure that Kanban board is updated in real time at least once a day. And the items have to be small enough so those states or steps can be completed. Maybe multiple steps can be completed within a day. Okay. And then have the daily Kanban meeting around the Kanban board. So Kanban board is in front of you and you are working on, you're asking the question, where is the bottleneck? Where the things are stuck? What we are going to do about it? What's the thing we need to improve today? Instead of those regular Scrum questions, you are asking different questions. And then 2 weekly activities. Collect and report, identify metrics. That is so important. Don't miss out on that one. Otherwise, you will not be able to demonstrate that the improvements are happening. And then weekly retrospectives. Weekly retrospective will help you to keep improving, finding what the opportunities to improve, and you keep improving. 2 daily activities, 2 weekly activities, very simple. I believe in simplicity, I told you that, right? So there's the simple things to do. Yes, I'll come back to you. Actually, right, you can ask questions. We're right there.
I was just going to say, what if you don't have like full-time dedicated resources? Like if you have resources that are embedded in the business and have a percentage of their time.
So in case of ideally, in Agile, you need fully dedicated team members. Otherwise, it doesn't work. Okay. So if you do not have that luxury of having full-time people, you do with whatever you have. Bring all those people who are involved in this process together in a room, go through step 1 to 5, and create your Kanban board, set up your matrix, and then operationalize. Whatever you can do, and you will definitely see benefits even in that situation. The big part of this Lean Agile or Kanban and Lean is that you don't have to change anything. You start from where you are. Like in a Scrum, you have to have a product owner, you have to have a Scrum Master, you have to have this process, right? In this case, you don't require it. If there is a project manager, there is a business analyst, whatever, the current roles, they can just stay with those roles. This is a path of least resistance. You can start without doing any basic or any major changes in the organization structure.
I'm just thinking in terms of the daily actual like Kanban, like report.
Yeah, then they have to come and attend that. If the people are doing 5 projects and they are into 5, they have to do 5 daily meetings. Can't do much about that. Yes.
I often hear that you can apply Agile to other projects besides IT projects. But can you really apply it to, say, building a dam? Because it's not like you can go build a minimally functional dam, have it fail, and flood.
Yes. So, yes. Did I say in the beginning Agile is not a silver bullet? Is not going to be applied? Yeah. So use wherever it can be applied. I completely agree with you. You may not be able to apply there. So don't try to force every year. Construction kind of thing is difficult. Some of the people who believe that it can be applied, they will tell you the ways, but probably that may not work. Realistically, it may not. Yeah. Yes.
So I see this as something that really is like a ticket process that you're going through. Like what we're running into in my organization is I have a project, full deputy project, and now they're being asked to do tickets too. So that's really hard to manage. Any suggestions?
Yeah. So what you can do, your project process, you can have your steps for your project process, what they do on the projects. You can have that process, and that is a one type of work, and then other type of work is ticket. You can have 2 swim lanes, and the tickets can go in the ticket, and you can have the development work go on that. The thing will be you can have the Kanban board for your sprint, but then you initialize it with every sprint. That is what will happen. Yes?
Value stream metrics, is that methodology coming from Lean?
Yes, Lean. Yes, Lean. Value stream mapping is the Lean methodology. Yes, you're right. Yes? Yeah, so if you are making a Kaizen plan, see how it is going to benefit the customer. So if it helps the team, that's great. But how ultimately, and customer focus means, are you reducing the customer lead time? Are you improving the quality that is delivered to the customer? So that it need to be thought through that part, that how a customer will get benefited from this. Don't lose sight of that. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, virtual teams. So the part with the virtual team is you can apply this process as is. Now we have lot of tools that are available, and you can implement Kanban board. Actually, you can create value stream map with a visualization tools. I know about Mural is a tool that is used, but there are several tools.
The problem is not the tool. The problem is that how to do a daily meeting when you have someone in India, someone in Israel, and someone in Hawaii.
Yeah. So I am working with a team right now that has people spread over from West Coast to East Coast to Europe to India to China, and Australia down there. So what is required for that is that you may have to divide the team in a manner that they can meet for some time, because it is important. If they cannot meet, then you are not going to be successful in Agile. They have to meet at least for the daily part, maybe 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. So if you have somebody from Australia and you have somebody from the West Coast, really there may not be any time. Otherwise, one is going to be at the midnight, and something like that. So what I will do in that case, maybe I divide the team in a way that they have some overlap period. Maybe some people work a little late in the evening, some people work a little early in the morning. You have to do all those adjustments. Is it the best way to do? No. But there could be ways to handle that. You can use tools. You can, when people have you heard of Slack? Anybody uses Slack over here? That's a beautiful tool, much better than email. You can use Slack, you can use Mural, you can use the tools for Kanban board. So there are ways to handle that, but it's it's not that optimized. But that's what you got to work with what you have. Yes?
How scalable is your process? So, like, if I have a single website that I'm working on, I can see where it would work. If I have a process, or if I have an overall product where I have, say, 5 different streams of communication or methods of communication to a customer, and I'm changing something that needs to impact all of them, which means I have separate development teams.
So for the larger team or larger things, how do you scale? That you have to actually put a front end process to that. So before the team start working on something, you have to put a front end process to that to figure that things out, to break the bigger thing into smaller things, and see which team is going to do which part. And then there has to be some process at the end part of it, where you take the output from the teams and synchronize it, or whatever you have to do. So there has to be process in the front, and there has to be process in the end. If you do not have those, the beginning and the end, you may have challenges or problems.
So that leads to another question, which is, in the smaller scale, in a bigger scale, I know the answer to the question, but in a smaller scale, where is the difference in the roles of a Scrum Master and a project manager?
That's a very usual question. So Scrum Master is basically more ownership of the Scrum process. More ownership of the Scrum process, how to do planning, how to do daily stand-up, how to do prioritization, how to do estimation, and all those kind of things, coaching, training the team. very highly involved. The project manager role may go a little beyond that. How to manage stakeholders, how to manage contract, how to manage risks, how to manage all that. So that may be a little more, customer facing, little more, stakeholder facing, little more sponsor facing. Whereas Scrum Master is more down in the weeds. Sometimes you have same person doing both roles. So that time there could be a little confusion arising, but these are two different roles. They are very, very different roles. And believe me, sometimes any lead or somebody very little experience is put in a Scrum Master role, and that doesn't work out well. A Scrum Master is a highly skilled role, because not only they have to worry about the process, they also coach. They coach product owner, they coach the team, they coach. Is a very, very critical role on a Scrum team. Yeah, we have only a couple of minutes left. Anybody else? Okay, thank you very much. I'll be here for next 3 days. Thank you.